AI coding tools are absolutely everywhere. They promise to make developers faster, smarter, and way more productive. But as they've flooded the industry, they've also created a brand new and honestly, a very surprising challenge that we're going to dive into right now. So right off the bat, here's the paradox in a nutshell. This comes from a huge Sonar survey of over 1,100 developers. On one side, you have this massive 35% average productivity boost. I mean, that's a game changer. But on the other side, an almost universal lack of trust. A staggering 96% of developers don't fully trust that the AI's code is functionally correct. So how can we be so much more productive with code we fundamentally don't trust? That's the question we're unpacking. Okay, so to really get our heads around this paradox, we've got to appreciate just how deeply and how quickly AI has woven itself into the daily life of a developer. This isn't some far-off trend we're talking about. This is the reality today. I mean, just look at the sheer speed of this revolution. Just a couple years ago, back in 2023, AI was basically a separate tool. You'd go to a chat window, you'd copy and paste some code. Fast forward to today, and it's becoming a fundamental layer of the entire software development process. It's not just a tool you use anymore. It's literally part of the environment you work in. And this integration, it's now a daily reality. For the vast majority of developers, using AI isn't some occasional thing. Think about that. A massive 72% are using these tools every single day. That makes it as common as checking your email or jumping on a daily stand-up call. AI has officially become a habit. All right, so let's flip to the other side of our paradox and see how this all builds up. This incredible speed and adoption, it comes with a major hidden cost, a kind of tax that developers are paying every single day. It's what the Sonar report calls the verification bottleneck. And this right here is the absolute heart of the problem. It's not that AI writes obviously bad code. No, it's that it writes this deceptively plausible code. 61% of developers agree with this statement. The code looks right. It compiles, it runs, but it can be hiding these subtle bugs or security flaws that are way harder to spot than a typical human error. And you know, those subtle little flaws, they lead to these major concerns. Look at this. The number one worry isn't just about buggy code. It's about exposing sensitive company or customer data. That's a huge risk. And right behind that, you've got introducing security vulnerabilities and, of course, the general correctness of the code. We're not just talking about developer frustration here. This is serious, serious business risk. So all of this has created something people are now calling the new toil. You know, developers used to complain about the toil of writing boilerplate code or digging through documentation. And yeah, AI has definitely cut down on that. But it's replaced it with a new, mentally taxing job, constantly reviewing, validating, and correcting the output of their AI partner. Okay, so if developers don't trust the code, and it takes all this effort to review, you'd think it gets fixed or deleted pretty fast, right? There's this theory floating around that AI code is disposable. You know, you use it for a quick prototype and then you throw it away or a human rewrites it. But what if that's not what's happening at all? Let's pause on that for a second. Does this code that everyone is so skeptical of actually get thrown out? Well, the answer, based on this really fascinating academic study, is probably not what you're thinking. Okay, get ready for this, because this is the bombshell finding. Researchers from Concordia University did what's called a survival analysis on hundreds of thousands of pieces of code. And what they found was that AI-generated code is actually less likely to be changed or deleted. It has a 16% lower hazard of being modified than code written entirely by a human. Yeah, just let that sink in for a moment. The code we trust less lasts longer. This just completely flips that whole disposable code theory on its head. Instead of being temporary, AI code is sticking around in our code bases, becoming a permanent part of our software. Which, of course, brings us to the most important question: why? All right, so let's try to unpack this mystery. It turns out the reason AI code lasts longer isn't because it's better. It's because it's different, and we're modifying it for totally different reasons. So what the academic paper did was break down the why behind the changes. And look at this. When AI code gets modified, it's slightly more likely to be for a corrective reason, a bug fix. But human code, that's much more likely to be changed for adaptive reasons, like adding new features or evolving with new business requirements. So what does this all point to? Well, it suggests that AI code might be creating this new kind of sneaky form of technical debt. It solves the immediate problem, right? So it gets checked into the code base. But because it's buggier and less adaptable over the long run, it stores up problems for the future. It's the classic, easy solution now that leads to way more work later. When you put all this together,
The productivity boost, the trust gap, the fact that this buggy code is sticking around. It all points to a fundamental shift in the very job of a software developer. The role is literally changing right before our eyes.
And this reveals a brand new hierarchy of skills. When that Sonar survey asked developers what the most important skills are now, number one wasn't writing algorithms or mastering a new framework. It was reviewing and validating AI-generated code. That actually beat out the skill of prompting the AI in the first place. So what's the big takeaway from this whole paradox? It's this. For decades, a developer's value was measured by their ability to create clean, efficient code from a blank screen. Well, that's changing. In the age of AI, the most critical skill is becoming the ability to critically judge, validate, and curate code that a machine has written.
And that really leaves us with a final big question to think about. As AI cements its role as a permanent co-author on every software team, we have to ask ourselves, are we entering an era where the most valuable human in the room isn't the best coder, but the best critic?